Hello, welcome back for another video. In this video, I'm going to repot this Pilea, because as you can see it's not doing super well. There's a few reasons for that. Obviously it's very overcrowded, so that doesn't help, but also the soil is very compacted. So, to help with this process, I'm going to mix some soil. So, I have some perlite, and I have some soil. It's just normal house plant potting soil. The ratios is roughly 1 part perlite and 2 parts soil. So in the end, this is pre-mixed already, but in the end it's going to look like this. As you can see, it's very porous, it's very light, very fluffy. And that's because, let's see if I can show you, the soil in here is rock hard. It doesn't let through any water, so the water basically goes on the sides. It doesn't actually absorb in the soil. So that's why it looks like it's very dry. It's because all the water is instantly going to the bottom of the pot. So first of all, let's take it out of the pot, and now we'll take it out of the plastic pot. Oh, it's very root bound. Oh my god, it's full. I can barely squeeze it. It's not coming out either, so I'm just gonna squeeze it, rotate it a little bit. I have this, what's it called? Just like this plastic thing under it, so it doesn't drip all over the floor. There's no soil to clean up, it all catches. Just carefully pull on the stem, the main stem in the middle. Still not letting go. Even though, as you can see, it's not really coming through the bottom yet. This is just a bit of soil. It's not really any roots. But if you squeeze it right now, it feels, oh, yep, there we go. Yep, there you go. See? Incredibly root bound. I can try to show you. You can see all the imprints of the pot that it was in. Because you can see it has little indents, and you can also see those here. So this thing is incredibly root bound. And that's why it has the yellow leaves as well, because it doesn't have any space to grow. So, to repot, we need a new pot. This new pot should be just one size bigger than this. In another video, I'll show you why that is. But for now, just follow that. It's going to be one size bigger than this. So let's get that. So here we got a pot that's slightly bigger than the previous one. You know those plastic things that your plants come in when you buy them from the store, like these? Yeah, don't throw those away. They're super useful to keep plants in because they have built-in drainage holes, as you can see. See, there we go. And that helps to get the water away from the plant. So first, we're going to have to separate all of the little baby plants that are in here, because there is like at least 20 plants in here. That's too many. Ideally, you want to have maximum of 3 in here. The only problem is that this plant grows very quickly. So you basically have to repot it once a year. But first, let's separate them. Then we have one big main plant, and that's going to be in the new pot, and the smaller plants will have their own pot. To help with that, I have a little pair of pruning shears. They are mainly used to cut off the small plants from the parent plant. Let's put this away for now. Oh. And first separate this plant, because this is this is incredibly root bound. I've clearly not done this in 2 years. There we go. That's one plant. I can try to show you. It's separated from the parent plant, so this one can go in its own pot. We'll put those to the side for now. If roots fall off like this, that's not too terrible. As you can see, this root system is really bad, or sorry, really big. So if 1 or 2 fall off, that's fine. Okay, so as you can see, this is basically the whole bottom of the root system. That's kind of a lot to get rid of this plant. However, I'm not too worried about it because this plant is well, it grows like a succulent. So You can basically cut off most of these things and it will still grow. So I'm just going to get rid of this because it takes up too much space in the pot anyway. And now the root system is a lot smaller, as you can see here. There's still a couple to remove, so let's do that. So at this point, I've separated all of the small plants that are very easy to separate. So these are all pretty well attached. These are all growing from the parent's root system. So now it's kind of scary what you have to do. You have to break them off the parent. So let's do that. See, that's one. You can see this was separated from the parent plant. It's a big root, but it's its own plant. It has its own root system now, so it will survive. So you can see there's one left here. I'm going to leave that on there. It doesn't have its own root system yet. It's still growing from the parent, so I'm going to leave it on there. Plus, it's okay to have a couple of plants in the same pot, just not as many as you can see here. You can't see that actually, but here, let me try to show you. There is a lot. There is a lot of them. Okay, so this is going to go in its own pot. Let's also remove some of the yellow leaves. These will not turn green again, so it's okay to remove them. They come off very easily. It's a very sensitive plant when it comes to that. Yeah, so I think this looks good. These leaves, I could probably remove these as well, but it's okay for now. They're very elongated. I'll leave them on there for now. So let's pot them up. So to pot them up, we have the little plastic pot with the drainage holes. This will be placed inside of the main pot. This will not hold water. So that's exactly what we want, because we want all the water to drain through the soil, through the drainage holes, into the bigger pot. We have the bigger pot that doesn't have any drainage holes. That's fine too, because I don't want to mess. You could have this on top of a saucer and still catch all the water, but I don't like the look of these pots too much, so that's why I place them inside of nice decorative pots. So let's mix some of the soil. Remember, 1/3 perlite, 2/3 houseplant potting soil. It's very important to use houseplant potting soil. And that is because it's already mixed with some stuff. Like, I'll try to show you, but it's already mixed up. It has some ingredients that help it drain a little bit better. Oh, that's a tiny one. Okay. Let's first place a base layer, because we don't want the roots to be all the way at the bottom. I want them to sit on a little bit of a base layer. That way it can still spread out its roots a little bit better to the bottom and to the sides of the pot. Okay, so I added a base layer. It's about this much into the pot. It's about an inch. We place this on top. As you can see, the root system is just under the lid. No, it's just under the top of the pot here. And that helps with watering, because then the water doesn't flow over the sides of the pot, but rather stays inside of the pot. Also, since these leaves are very sensitive, they will fall off at some point. That's okay, just try to be careful. Okay, so I added some soil straight from the bucket into here. Obviously that was from one side, so now we have to spread it out the pot a little bit and make sure to press down on it too, because that makes sure that the plant is stable in the spot, otherwise it will just start swinging. Don't want that. So push down on the soil. It has lots of perlite, so it will have lots of nice drainage added into it. Okay, so it looks like I need a bit more, so I'm going to mix up a bit more here. It's a bit difficult to show you, but I've added the soil in here, I've added the perlite in here, now I'm going to mix it around. And what we end up with is a nice mix. So what I mentioned about the top of the pot earlier, I'll show you. As you can see, the soil level is lower than the edge of the pot here. So that helps when you're watering. You're watering basically on top of the soil, but it will tend to go to the outside since dry soil absorbs water very poorly. So it will tend to go to the sides, and if you have it all the way up to the top, like that, it's going to go over. So then you're not actually watering your plants, you're basically just watering your pot. And by having the top of the pot here higher than the soil, it will trap the water will go down in the pot, and it will slowly be absorbed by the soil. And when the soil is already wet, it's much better at absorbing more water. So now we've potted up the main plant with one plant on the side here in a bigger pot, so now it has plenty of space to grow again. Now all we have to do is water it. So let's put it in this pot. A nice pot without any drainage holes, as you can see. Let's put that in there. Oh, scrapes a little. There we go. It's all potted up. Now we're going to water it. Got the plant. Got the water. Let's water it. Oh yeah. Here, let me show you quick. See, it's not draining right away. It's because this soil is dry. It is very slowly, because it has perlite, very slowly going down, and now it will all be settling around the plant. So all air pockets will be filled up. The water kind of helps to compact the soil a little bit. Not too much, obviously, because then we have what we had before. But now it's all basically connecting it up. So if you have soil, if you have the soil that touches other soil particles and it goes down to the bottom, it absorbs it very gradually. And that's also why you don't want gravel at the bottom of the pot, for example. Soil does a very good job of draining by itself, but since we added the perlite, it keeps a nice texture. It stays light. The previous batch, as you can see, did not have any perlite at all. That's why it compacted over time, and this will do the same, but it will take 1 or 2 years probably. Bit of extra water, since now it's a little bit more moist, the soil, so now it should absorb it more easily. It's a bit difficult, but it's staying on the top a little bit less now. So yeah, that's how you repot this plant. Now all that's left for me is to repot all of these, but I'm not going to bore you with that. So I hope you learned something. If you notice the same on any of your house plants, not just this plant obviously, maybe it's time to repot it. Maybe it is as root bound as it is here, but it doesn't actually show it through the pot. Because for this one, the roots didn't grow out of the drainage holes. But you could see that the soil was super compacted. It was very unhappy because of all the yellow leaves. So if you notice the same on your plants, perhaps it's time to repot. So yeah, I hope you learned something, and I'll see you next video.